Welcome everyone to Fraud Files Unleashed, where true fraud investigations meet captivating storytelling. I'm Austin, a seasoned fraud fighter with over 8 years of experience in both law enforcement and banking. Join me on a first-hand journey through real cases, offering insights into the dangers and intricacies of fraud. Whether you're a fellow fraud fighter or eager to learn about fraud prevention, I invite you to tune in. Brace yourself for a mix of knowledge and humor, and I apologize in advance because there's going to be a lot of dad jokes throughout this podcast. Let's uncover the secrets of fraud together. Episode 9: Fighting Identity Theft with Fire. Man, I almost completely forgot about this fraud investigation that I assisted with. Realistically, this was one of the first times I ever touched an identity theft case while working as a patrol officer at the Altamont Springs Police Department. Full disclosure, I was not the primary officer on this call, but I was assisting. This identity theft subject got caught in one of the funniest ways you could ever imagine. It cracks me up just thinking about this night. Join me as we jump back to the early morning hours in the summer of 2017. Whoa. I'm still a patrol officer at this point in my career. I am a true rookie with my young and clean-shaven face. The only thing found on my face while I was working night shift were some leftover donut crumbs. My patrol car constantly had a strong aroma of dark coffee and sweet pastries. I was practically a mobile donut shop. Hey, at least if you got arrested by me, you got to enjoy your last few moments of freedom riding in the back of a paddy wagon that smelled great. Around the early hours of 3 to 4 a.m. on this special morning, everything seemed normal. The traffic had died down at this point, and there wasn't a single 911 call on our dispatch screen. I had all my windows rolled down and I was cruising through business plazas just to help deter any overnight robbery attempts. There was nothing quite like slowly rolling through the night when most people were asleep. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, which is always how it happened, a priority call came out. A car fire in the Burlington parking lot? That's not too far from here. I'll head that way. I keyed up on my radio and let dispatch know I'd be en route. Delta 12, can you show me en route? I left my windows down as I flipped on my red and blue lights and peeled out of the business parking lot. The sirens really weren't necessary because there was no traffic, and I caught all the green lights. As I cruised down State Road 436, rapidly approaching the scene, I could see smoke billowing into the night sky. The fire department is going to love this. They get an actual fire to deal with. They live for moments like this. Somehow, I was the first individual on scene. I pulled up to a car that was fully engulfed, and my zone partner, who was taking the primary on this call, pulled up right behind me. There was a tall, slender man standing near the vehicle who stated his name was Jarrett, and he was the individual who called 911. My partner grabbed his fire extinguisher from his trunk just in case, but this fire was far too big for a cop to deal with. We needed our heroes, the hose draggers, to come save us. Please don't get offended. We always got along with FD. I mean, we would hop crazy calls together all night long. But you best believe we would all bust each other's chops every chance we got. We kept at a safe distance and watched the beauty and strength of this fire as it destroyed Jarrett's car. Really satisfying to watch when it's not your own car. The vehicle was far away from any building, so there was minimal damage by letting this car burn. Within a minute or two, FD pulled up and you could see the excitement on their faces. It was as if Christmas morning had arrived early. FD handled their business and saved all of our lives. Thank you. Now our only goal was to get some info from Jarrett on what happened here. Jarrett was already visibly sweating as if his nerves started to take over. Something just wasn't quite right. Here's the story that Jarrett gave us. He was driving down I-4 when he started smelling something burning. He thought to himself, it's probably fine. Let's just keep driving. That sounds like something I would do, honestly. Well, the burning smell quickly got worse. The next thing Jarrett knew, smoke was coming out of his engine. He had no choice but to jump off I-4 at the Altamont Springs exit, and he pulled into the first parking lot he found, which just so happened to be this Burlington. By the time he parked the car and jumped out, the car was already on fire. I mean, this story seemed to make sense, honestly. So my zone partner asked for Jarrett to start writing a sworn statement, and he asked for his identification. Jarrett's demeanor seemed to switch. He stumbled through his words and stated he didn't have his ID with him, but he could give us his social security number. Whoa, what was that? I'm fairly certain that was the first time ever my fraud senses have tingled. My first tingle ever? What in the world does that mean? I do not know, but at this point in time, I knew something was not right. My zone partner ran Jarrett's information, and he agreed. Something just wasn't right. Jarrett was able to verify his date of birth and full name, but the driver's license photo that we pulled up just didn't seem to match Jarrett perfectly. It looked really close though, so we were torn. Maybe the fumes were just getting to us. Well, my brother in blue decided to pull out his handy-dandy fingerprint scanner just to confirm Jarrett was who he said he was. And big surprise. Jarrett was in fact not Jarrett at all. Jarrett was his brother. So he had been using his brother Jarrett's identity. Wow, he stole his brother's identity? Why would he do that? Well, that's because his real name was Marquise, and Marquise had several warrants out for his arrest. Oof. I believe Marquise knew his gig was up when his fingerprint was being scanned, but he was still stubborn. We confronted Marquise with the evidence, and he refused to give in. He refused to admit to anything. He had the right to remain silent, and he was one of the few individuals who invoked that right. He had nothing to say to us. So, not only did Marquise take a ride to the jail for his outstanding felony warrants, but he got some identity theft charges added on. Yep, you heard me right. So Marquise was driving down the interstate. His car randomly catches on fire. And he got caught stealing his brother's identity because he didn't want to go to jail for the warrants that he had. What a crazy turn of events. After all of this was over, we met up at a local Denny's, and I was dying laughing because of this crazy sequence of events. I was eating a grand slam at Denny's, but this fraud case was a grand slam. This was also one of the first calls I assisted with in law enforcement that had me at least intrigued about fraud fighting. The seed was planted. But I had no idea this would later lead to me having a full career in fighting fraud. I also had no idea I'd be recording a true crime fraud podcast talking about that very night almost 7 years later. Fraud comes in all shapes and forms. Sometimes it's complicated, but sometimes it's just ironic and worth laughing over. Here's some free advice. If you have outstanding warrants, you should probably make sure your car maintenance is up to date. Also, stealing your family members' identities is probably not the best idea. And there you have it, fraud fighters. Fraudsters often get caught in ways that they least expect. Sometimes it's good to break up the monotony with a funny fraud story. Join us next time as we delve into the world of financial intrigue, exposing the tricks of the trade while sharing a laugh or two. Remember, not all heroes wear capes, some wear accountant badges and detective hats. This podcast is presented by Fraud Warfare. If you are interested in supporting us through promoted ads, please connect with me on LinkedIn. Please share this podcast with a friend or family member, and be sure to leave us a review on your podcasting platform of choice. You can also support us financially through our buymeacoffee.com/fraud warfare page. 100% of these funds go towards improving the quality of our podcasts and, of course, some coffee. Thanks for listening.